Okay, so hi everybody. I have here together with me Sam from the UK, and we met with Sam in Messac in France, Sarente, in a camping, and Sam offered me a beer after a long day of cycling in the sun and the heat. And then he also accepted to give an interview on cycling because he's also an amateur cyclist and a backpacker. Sam, thanks very much for accepting to give this interview.
My
So
pleasure.
I would like to ask you, Sam, why did you choose to travel this way by bike and backpack?
So I think there's quite a few different answers to that. But um, first of all, having done it on a small scale and tried it out, I absolutely loved it. So it really went on from a few days cycle in northern France to becoming something that I felt passionately about and wanted to do a lot more. Um, I what I discovered when I first tried cycle touring, as I'd refer to it, is that it is simply the best way to see any country, um, because it's not just that you see the road, but you start to see the lay of the land, the geology, what makes the shape of the hills you're going up, um, and you experience the smells of the crops as you cycle through the fields and the forests, and you and the sounds of the different insects and bird life, all things that you just don't experience when you're on a train certainly in a car. And also, because I'm really interested in the area I'm cycling through, with a bicycle you can just stop, lean your bike up against the wall and have an explore. Whereas in a car, you tend not to do that because you feel, oh, it's dangerous to park on this corner or whatever it might be. So it's that for me, I've realized it's just the best way to get to know any country. And the other thing is, people will talk to you as you cycle through a village. I know, you've experienced this a lot, Yorgos. When you're on a bike, and you're just stopping maybe to have a drink or looking at a map, people will talk to you, will stop and talk to you, which again they won't do if you're in the car. So you have an interaction with the people in the country that you're traveling in. So I think for me, those are the main things that make me love to do it. And also, when I get off that ferry, when I'm landing in France, which is where I normally start, it it I just know that I'm going to have an adventure. I just know I'm going to discover things that I couldn't possibly have predicted, and I just love that adventure that I always end up having.
Fantastic. I recognize all three that you mentioned. So the contact, say, with nature,
Yeah,
that is completely different than with the car. The fact that people reach out to you because they see you in a kind of, vulnerable situation,
yeah,
and also the adventurous aspect. So, and what about the weather? So how the weather influences uh, your planning, let's say, because when you cycle, you have to do with completely unexpected weathers, right? And sometimes
mm,
you don't have the choice even to to say, okay, I'm not going to cycle today.
mm,
You need
mm,
to move
mm,
on sometimes.
mm, mm,
How the fact that you are going to travel under the rain or under
mm,
the sun, how does this influence you, for instance? Do
mm.
you find it exciting or you find it a limiting factor?
I Most of the weather conditions, I I just accept that if I'm on a bicycle traveling day after day with a relatively heavy load, it's going to be uncomfortable. there's going to be a level of discomfort, either the pain in my muscles or the heat or whatever it might be. So I just accept that there's a level of discomfort, and you get good days and bad days because and what I find, and I'm sure you found the same, is that if you have a bad day, because of the weather or whatever it might be, then the next and you think, oh, I'm not enjoying this. The next day, you're sweeping down some lovely mountain range and beautiful bends in the road, and you realize that actually it's actually truly wonderful, and it
Yes.
compensates. It compensates.
Absolutely. I recognize exactly what you say about the acceptance and also about the alternation of the bad and good days. I absolutely recognize that.
But also, I think it's having the it's getting used to the idea that that is how it's going to be. That there will be good and there will be bad, and so when it's bad, you just get used to actually putting up with it. I think,
Yeah.
um, and and that tells you something about yourself. It's taught me something about myself anyway, in terms of um, how you need to be persistent. There's and the idea of giving up is well, it just doesn't come onto the agenda. If it means you've got to suffer more pain to get where you want to go, then so be it. You just do it. And I think that teaches you. It's some it's an aspect of and it's an experience that I wouldn't probably have in normal life, whereas it's something I have on the bike because, as I said to you when we met, for me, it's cycling, cycle touring. It's there's a purity about there's you and the bike and the hill, and then there's how much pain you're prepared to put up with, and it's very pure. And you those are the elements you have to adjust and live with, and on cycle touring. And I think the harder it gets, the deeper understanding you have of how much pain you're prepared to put up with.
Well, this is fantastic, and thank you also for mentioning. It helps me to move to the next question that is exactly actually that. How did this way of traveling changed changed you or the way you see things? And you said a couple of things just right now regarding the acceptance, regarding the fact that you realize that things alternate, the 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 fact that you realize that there is no way to give up. So, is there anything else also that you would like to mention on how traveling this way has influenced you?
Um, I think the I think my confidence in my ability and my individual capability has built and improved with each trip. And I think my ability to make good decisions about long distance cycling and my ability to endure the pain and the heat has also endured and improved. Um, but I think my confidence has built because there have been times, and I'm sure you've found this as well. There have been times when I've thought, I'm not sure I can do this. Like on a particular day, if maybe I've had to divert and do extra mileage that I hadn't anticipated, or a mountain is steeper than I thought, or I thought I was going to be able to get water somewhere and I couldn't get water. And there are occasions I found where I genuinely thought, I'm not sure I can do this today. But when you work at it and you stay with it and you don't give up and you manage to get yourself out of that situation and to complete the day or whatever it might be, it shows you, it gives you confidence in your own abilities. So I think in terms of my confidence, about cycling, that is that has improved, and that has changed me in some ways. Um, but also, I I think one of the biggest things I've learned, and it's the ways it's changed me, is I've always grown. I grew up being very focused on setting objectives and goals, and then doing everything in my power to achieve those objectives. And I've learned from cycling that actually it's really important to enjoy the journey, not just getting to the objective. And particularly with cycling, I when I started, it was all I'd set myself this plan, and I'd sit at home during the winter, and I'd plan out what distance I was going to do every day and where I was going to go. And if I didn't keep to that, I would beat myself up. Whereas what I've learned is actually the journey, and stopping off and looking at things that are interesting and chatting to people, and maybe doing things that I hadn't expected to do. That actually enjoying the journey is now more important than actually getting to a particular objective. And accepting in myself that being flexible doesn't mean I'm failing. It's the journey is what it's all about. So that applies, and that's applied started to apply not just in my cycling life, but it just in normal life. That's something that might be to do with age as well, but it's something that I'm much more of that. I have that philosophy in life much more than I ever used to, and I think a lot of that is due to the cycling.
Wonderful. I recognize so much what you say, but I don't want to go on this topic because if we go on, it's going to take hours. It's
Sure.
something I love the most, actually, what you just mentioned. Okay, so then thank you very much, Sam. Last question. Could you share a moment or an experience from the road that you felt truly unique or unforgettable?
um, well, there's I mean, there's so many good experiences that are unforgettable. I mean, I give it. There's probably two. I'd mention what the first one is a bad one. Um,
Okay, that's
so I was,
awesome. They are bad and good, eh? We said that.
so I was cycling with a chap. It was our first day out. So we'd done some training, but it was a very hot day. We hadn't had enough water. We hadn't got used. We hadn't allowed us. We hadn't had a gentle introduction. We hadn't allowed ourselves to adjust to the heat and to the whole cycling experience. We went right in. We're going to do this, and we're going to go anyway. Right towards the end of the day, we just stopped by the side of the road, got off our bikes, and my friend collapsed. Uh, from, as it turned out, it was dehydration really and low blood pressure. Fortunately, I saw it happening, so I managed to grab him and bear hug him. So he went down to the ground without hurting himself. But so it was very memorable because it obviously it was very scary, but it made me respect the weather and the heat in a way I perhaps hadn't before. Um, and everyone tells you, oh, you need to drink more, you need to do this, you need to do that. But I suddenly, it became a real thing to deal with for the rest of my cycle touring, really. Um, but he was fine, very, but it made me sign up for a first aid course as soon as I got home because I'd never done a first aid course. And in that moment, I felt quite helpless. And so I signed up for a first aid course, and I've done regular first aid courses since. So that was one thing. So that's very memorable. And there was a lesson there, which I definitely learned. But the other highlight is that I'll always remember was a cycle I did from Madrid to up through Spain, over the Pyrenees to Montpellier, and I'd had some hard cycling up over the Pyrenees, um, through through the mountain ranges, and I'd had a rest day, and then I in a place called Kion, a village, and but the descent, I found this marvelous descent down into France, and it was through sort of beautiful, cool, shaded forests, a perfect road surface, no cars, and it went on for a good couple of hours. And yeah, it's one of the best cycles I've ever had, and I just didn't want it to stop. So it's one of those days where you just you forget all the pain that might have happened before, and you just absolutely realize why you want to do more and more of this type of activity. So yeah, those are probably the two things that stand out.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sam. So I
Okay.
will not bother you further. Is there a last thing that you would like maybe to say? Or
Uh, uh, Not about me, but just for you. You know, it's so impressive what you're doing, and I've got huge respect for you. And I look after yourself, and I wish you every success with the last, the last stages that you've got ahead of you.
absolutely. Thank you very much, and we will
Okay.
stay in touch.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Thank
Take care.